I never considered myself the investigative type, nor did I consider myself much of a detective, but that was before I saw her. Well, it more specifically. It just keeps happening. Murder after murder after murder, and nobody knows why. That is nobody. Except for me. Let's put it like this. In the words of one David Lynch, everybody gets something different from paintings, photography, and from cinema. But if everybody gets something different from cinema, why do we constantly end up in the same place regarding these movies?
That is one big pile of shit.
Movies can be incredible, but they can also be incredibly terrible. Inspiration is hard to come by at the best of times, but just as someone can sit in a cinema and think, this would make a fantastic game, equally somebody can sit playing a video game and think, this would make a fantastic movie. And why not, right? The ingredients are there, but it's generally considered that these films are the worst of the bunch. But how true is that? Our last investigation changed me forever. Looking at movie tie-in video games and just how bad they are. I might never recover. But a detective's work is never done. It's about time we disappear down the adjacent rabbit hole, is it not? You look trustworthy. Follow me and I'll take you through the evidence. This is how bad are video game movies. The rules that I stuck to while gathering this data are simple. The film must have had a theatrical release because TVs are for fucking losers, you fucking dork! Also because it might feed into a future video, maybe. And also no Japanese releases because I don't speak Japanese. I don't speak German. We're gonna start out today with the biggest swinger, live action.
Action is coming.
I looked at the suspects between the years 1993 and 2024, and I'm gonna be real, Chief. The information that I found is... Even though we established in the last video that bar graphs are metal as fuck, I wanted to do something just a little bit different for this video. So, we now go live to our in-field reporter, Liam O'Lanralan, for further news on this report. Liam.
Hello from a field in the middle of nowhere. Originally, the plan was going to be to have a big pile of DVDs that were all the films that we looked at, that were reviewed, but I didn't have the money, so I don't have any props, so I'm just here in the middle of a field, and I was going to put them in representative order of bad and middle and good. And then as a representation of the critical response, I was going to dive through them. And it was going to be really funny. But I don't have any money. So I'm just here in the middle of the field. At least it's a nice day, though. Back to the studio.
Liam in the field there. One film? One in the green? Are you shitting my nuts? So I guess that's the end of the video then. How bad are movies based on video games? They're pretty fucking terrible. Please clap. It just doesn't make any sense. So just like any good investigation, we gotta look deeper. Take a look at this. The first movie based on a video game, as far back as I can tell, is 1993's Super Mario Bros. The movie. Nintendo gave complete freedom of the license to Buena Vista Pictures, not Buena Vista like I've got written in my notes. Nintendo gave complete creative freedom to Buena Vista Pictures because they thought, quote, the Mario brand was strong enough to withstand experimentation. The plot even sounds like your typical Mario venture. In fact, it sounds remarkably close to the plot of the Mario film that we got just last year. So it's a pretty safe bet. Right? Wrong! What I am about to show you, ladies and gentlemen, is considered sensitive material. If you have a poor heart condition or you are a child, I recommend that you look away. Now, here it is. Goomba. Look, Nintendo, I get it. You give them complete creative license to go in whatever direction they wanted. But what fucking direction is this going in? Okay. Joff, Morton, and Jankel, production and direction, respectively, all collectively decided that they wanted to take this Mario film in a dark direction, adapting from the darker tone of Batman and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which came before it. How the fuck can... What? I don't understand. I'm not certain that's a good idea. It's Mario, a game built on color and vibrancy and music and... Why would you take all of this and turn it into this? Make it make sense. You're probably not surprised to know that the Super Mario Bros. Movie was a critical and commercial failure. And we're gonna hold on to all of this because it gives us our first clue into why it doesn't work. It's more miss than hit. They were words. Next, I need you to take a look at this file. Resident Evil 2002. Now, before you even start going off on one at me in the comments with you, "Wow, the Resident Evil 2002 movie was actually super good. It had Mila Jovovich and she spin kicks the door." Hold your fucking horses. Whose horse is this? At the time that a Resident Evil movie was greenlit, Constantine Film had only been given the rights at the time that the first game had come out, meaning that they only had the first game to go off. So this naturally means that the movie would be based on the events of the first game, right? Right. In the beginning, this was the original plan, with Alan McElroy having written a film script based around the events of the first game that was raved about in PlayStation Magazine, but the problem is, that script got rejected. Not only did his script get rejected, but so did 6 different drafts by George fucking Romero. You know, the guy who's like the granddad of zombies. And do you want to know why those scripts were rejected? Because the producers, who always know best, said that by the time the pre-production had started on a Resident Evil movie, it'd be too late, because Resident Evil 2 would be out, and relevancy towards the first game would be long forgotten. What? And so the producers went with one Paul W.S. Anderson, who had already written a script inspired by the first Resident Evil film, which he himself called a knockoff of Resident Evil, and Constantine Film just took that as a workaround so that it wasn't just based directly on the games. They called it a prequel movie. And to be fair, that was a smart move, because creating a prequel movie doesn't run the risk of taking characters and events and locations and bastardizing them in the eyes of the players. And they would never do that, would they? Although it performed well at the box office, critically, oh no. But the audiences, get this, the audiences loved it. Audiences gave it a cinema score of B. But on a scale that could be rated between A and F. And B's pretty good. I love B's. So hold on. Critics thought that it was dog shit, but the fans liked it? Yes. And that, my friends, leads us into the next 2 very important things when it comes to considering these films. Number 1. Handling the IP. The Super Mario Bros. Movie was so far removed from its source material that everybody, critics and fans alike, both agreed at the time that it was a complete pile of wank. But Resident Evil, on the other hand, even though the critics thought it was a big pile of wank, the audiences, they didn't think that it was. Resident Evil was received better because it took aspects of the game, fleshed out the world of the game, and also had some pretty good set pieces to go along with it. Some of which would end up into video games themselves. Whoa. I'm so fucking hot in this room. The fact that critics really did not enjoy it, however, goes a long way in explaining why this bar graph looks like this bar graph. Let me put it like this. You fucking love Twilight. You want a Twilight movie, and you know what happens? They fucking make a Twilight movie. And you love Twilight so much that you go to the cinema because you've read the book and you watch the Twilight movie. And you want to know something incredible? You really like the Twilight movie. But the critics on the other hand, they did not like the Twilight movie. They only gave it a 49%. Twilight will please devoted fans, but leaves very little for the uninitiated. You hear this and it boils your piss. You froth and rave into a frenzy, and before you even fucking know it.
Hello, so there was going to be a joke here where I was naked and I was lost in the woods, but there's kids playing in the park over there, and they're out there, and I don't want to get arrested. So I'm not going to do that now.
I guess what I'm just trying to say is that movies are sometimes just made for the fans. Five Nights at Freddy's. Anybody who knows this channel already knows I have a history with Five Nights at Freddy's the movie. For those who don't know, I rewrote the entire film to make a better film that adheres to the 3-act structure and a bunch of other film shit that you don't need to know. I still really enjoyed that movie because I am a fan of Five Nights at Freddy's. However, a lot of people thought that it was inaccessible for people who had not seen or played Five Nights at Freddy's before. And a lot of people thought that video was really good, but there were also people who really didn't. Five Nights at Freddy's was just a film that was made for the fans. I guess that's kind of my point. And I guess that it also proves that maybe you can't rely on audiences' opinions as much because some people will defend anything. By the way, I did say at the beginning of that Five Nights video that I am a fan of the movie. You must have fucking missed that one though. It boils down to this. Critics are very good at analyzing what makes decent cinema. They dissect it for its parts, those parts being the 3-act structure, character arcs, motives, narratives, pacing, dialogue, interactions, all of that kind of stuff. But audiences, on the other hand, audiences know one thing or two things. What they really like and what they really don't like. Plain and simple, that is what matters. Did you enjoy it? Great. Did you not enjoy it? Okay, that's fine also. But let's just have a little look back at what I was talking about just before about critical analysis. You see this? This is the 3-act structure, okay? This is something that anybody who is writing a movie based on a video game is going to struggle with. I would tell you why. Let's take Uncharted, for example. Or Uncharted, am I right? The first game's minimum playtime is about 8 hours. So anybody who is making a film, let's say they're basing it on the first game's events, is going to have to take an 8-hour experience and condense it into about 2 hours. 3 hours if you mount Scorsese. Taking all of that story and putting it into 2 hours is going to be hard. Or you can just take Mark Wahlberg and put him in a Papa John's. Whoa, I'm literally in a Papa John's right now. This is fucking crazy. This is just one other reason why so many companies and writers will struggle to tell a video game story, because how do you take all of this and put it into just this? It's also why a lot of companies will opt to just loosely base their film on the game's events or just make their own narrative entirely. Because whilst you can have the T-ball set up and ready to smack and hit a home run golf, what are they called? Cheating on your wife, I'm pretty sure is what you do in golf, isn't it? You still have all of this to cram into a fraction of time. You could tell the story of the Doomslayer and his mysterious background, but you would still have to consider the 3-act structure and the fact that the Doom guy shouldn't talk. What characters do you put in? How do you tell the story? Or you could just take the Dr. Dwayne Johnson put him on a ship. You could tell the story of Hanzo Hasashi and how his family is brutally murdered and he becomes the Scorpion seeking revenge against the Ling Kuei. Or you could do that in the first 10 minutes of your film and then spend the rest of it with a character that no one can relate to doing nothing. What do you include? What don't you include? What locations? What characters? These are just some of the variables. There are also production variables like who are your writers? Who is your production team? What is your budget? Writing staff and directors are so incredibly important. Like, holy fuck. Have you seen anything by Uwe Boll? You could get the best writers in the world who could write the most tight-knit script you've ever read, and then when it comes to production, the production team take it way in a different direction, because apparently this is what happened with the Super Mario Brothers movie, because the writers said, this isn't what we fucking thought was gonna happen, and like, holy shit, it's so fucking hot in this room. But remember what I said at the very beginning of this video. This quote by David Lynch. This quote is insanely important. Objectively, all of these movies are dog shit. But subjectively, they are incredibly special to a lot of people for a lot of different reasons. There is a reason why all of these have their fans. Even this. And this. Not this one. Definitely not this one. Please not this one. So how do we close this case? How do we lay to rest all of the questions that still need answers? Well, there's one very, very simple answer, my friends. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Conway Twitty.
Hello. Nice to see you. It's been a long time.
Thank you for watching my video. I hope that in some way it has been informative or entertaining to you in some way. It is so fucking hot in this room. I am actually I can feel sweat dripping off my arm. It's so disgusting. If you've watched this long, please consider liking the video and subscribing. Leave me a comment telling me how sweaty I look. I don't know. I want to thank this week's patrons like Casey Young, Maven, Barry the Awesome, Owen Rico, and our newest patron, Hugo Hat. Thank you so very much for your ongoing support. They all have access to a patron-only podcast that I do after every upload. No doubt this time talking about how hot it is in this room and also how hard it was to make this video. If you would like to support me on Patreon, you absolutely can for as little as $1 in the description below, where you can have access to that podcast. Thank you so very much for watching, ladies and gentlemen. I have got to fucking change my t-shirt and maybe go and have a lie down. Oh wait, I can't have a lie down because I can't edit this video. Ah!